widespread persuasion and influence. Philip Hesketh is a psychology graduate who enjoyed a highly successful sales career at Procter & Gamble P&G, and in 1986 he founded an ad agency in Leeds, UK, Advertising Principles it was called, and has since grown into a multi-million pound business. He's also the associate consultant of BR's International. Philip's a motivational speaker, trainer, and author of a bestseller titled Lives Again, So Face the Odds. He's in the living room today to share some powerful influencing and persuading techniques and the psychology of it all. Stay tuned now and find out how buying, selling, persuading, and influencing actually works and what the basis of it all is. Well, warm welcome to Philip Hesketh in the living room. Thanks, Philip, for joining us today.
Good to see you, Stanley.
Now, what in essence makes one more influential? What in essence makes one more persuasive? To be able to swing votes, to be able to get people on your side.
I think there are two things. One is that it's very important that people look to see if you care about their situation. It's interesting if you look at Obama and Clinton and what's going on there, kind of swinging votes.
Having a go at each other that way.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure that's the right thing. People are saying, look, do you care about me? Don't care about each other too much. Do you care about me and my position? I think that's the first thing about being persuasive and influential. But the other is it's all down to your reputation. Clearly you're more influential if you have a good reputation. And the reputation that you have is the experience that people have of you, that includes what people say about you, minus what they expected of you. So that's why it's so important in business and in life to do what you say you're going to do. Then you enhance your reputation. But if you do a bit less than is expected of you, because the reputation is experience minus expectation, then you begin to lose your reputation, then you become less influential.
So you would probably say then that in order to be more influential and persuasive, you've got to be in the game for a longer period of time. You can't be a newbie and try to assume, that you have all the power in the world to persuade and influence.
Yeah, it's interesting how very quickly people can develop a reputation. Someone you can meet for just 1 minute, you feel confident and comfortable that this person can influence you, not so much because of their knowledge, but because they appear to care about you. Does that make sense to you?
So you just can't get things done just by way of being, heavy-handed. You really have to put some heart into it.
Well, it's a bit like, I'm sure all the listeners now would echo this, that if you were to go home tonight and say, hey, guess what, somebody sold me today, or somebody's persuaded me to do this at work, then you wouldn't feel terribly good about it. And because persuasion is something you do to someone, and we don't want to be persuaded. Influence is something else. Influence is something that you have. So people don't want to be railroaded.
Now, I read that you've spent your entire working life studying and practicing persuasion and influence. Is that because you were in sales and, involved in setting up even a business, new business developments and all?
Yes, it was sales, but the thing that always interested me, I studied at Harvard for a period of time, and I learned one major thing from Harvard when I hadn't done my homework. I'd been out to see the Boston Red Sox, is the truth, and we were in class, 70 of us, and the professor pointed at me, so, Mr. Hesketh, what do you think? And I offered my opinion on Marks and Spencer's as it was, and he said, is that opinion a fact? And I said, it's fact. And I recall the moment, Stanley, when he said, well, let's just help Mr. Hesketh out here. Is it opinion or is it fact? And I could feel the ground swallowing me up. And for me, one of the interesting things is the difference between opinion and fact. So I now do what I do because I'm genuinely interested in how people change their opinions, because it isn't easy. Most people have an opinion on something and then they look for evidence to support their opinion.
Whereas it should be the other way around.
That's right. But most of us, we have an opinion on something and it might not be factually correct, but we keep thinking that way anyway for the rest of our lives typically.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll be difficult to, try to win people over then. Now, is it true that you have the ability to negotiate and influence the outcome to your advantage in every keyword, every circumstance?
Yes, every is the key word, isn't it? It's interesting. I'm helping a client sell a company at the moment, and I'm struggling. I'm losing. That's the truth. And the reason is that the only people he can sell his 50% share to are the other shareholders, and they don't want to buy. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm using all the possible techniques in my armory, Stanley, and it's not working because they don't want. So it's of course you lose sometimes. And the times when you lose is if the other person really isn't interested. the other person really doesn't care.
Now, there are many techniques that you'll be sharing with us on our program today where it concerns persuasion and influencing, but the techniques that you will be sharing later on, were they say real life, based on real life experiences that you picked up and pulled out these lessons and say, hey, these are lessons that should really get into a book, and hence came out Lives Again, So Fix the Odds.
Yes, because I'm not a theory guy, I'm not an academic. I've worked in business and I made a lot of mistakes. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was offering people constructive criticism, thinking that I was being helpful. And if you're offered constructive criticism, typically you just feel like you've been criticized. So I made a lot of mistakes. So all of my thoughts in the book and so on are down to me making mistakes.
Well, we're going to be hearing about some of these lessons through those life experiences that you've had, and we're really just dying to go and finding out how we can get the best table at a restaurant, negotiate a better salary. Oh, my colleagues were jumping at that one. They want to learn how to do that. So yes, tell us more about where we should start when it comes to negotiating and really getting it right from start.
Yeah, I mean, let's take the issue of salary negotiations. Often what we do is we say, well, I'm currently earning so many $1,000s and I think I should be earning more, because you see it from your position. And I've known people say to me, look, my wife is having our fourth child, I need to earn more money. Well, that's not persuasive at all, that's not negotiation, that's merely stating your position. And I think what people need to do when they're negotiating their salary is to ask their boss, what is it that you think I do well? What is it that you value most about me? And what is it worth to you? And how can I improve? In other words, find out what your boss wants from you. And then you say, okay, well, if I were to improve on those things that you're telling me you want, then I surely would be worth more money. Does that make sense? I just condensed into 30 seconds for the 3-hour discussion.
Right. So tell me your expectations and I'll try to meet that.
Yeah, because often somebody can be earning a salary and their boss actually also thinks it should be increased. And I've known a situation where I used to employ 150 people, where someone would say to me, I think I'm worth 10% more, and I thought they were worth 30% more. So, well, I'm not going to pay them 30% more if they only want 10%. So if you like, the key to getting more salary is to find out what it is that your boss wants from you. Ask more questions. If you don't remember anything else about this whole thing, just ask more questions. Don't just say, I think I should get more money. That's trying to persuade someone. You're trying to bulldoze them, and people don't want to be bulldozed.
Mm-hmm. And if your boss is going to be stating out all those points that he or she wishes to see evident in your work and the results that achieved, he or she has no way of backing out of that because that was committed by that.
That's right, because they offer the commitments. And obviously, the other thing is that you should find out whether someone else is willing to pay you more money. Now, I'm not trying to be underhand here and go for interviews and so on in other places, but you should really know what the market forces are in terms of your own worth, because you might find that actually what you're getting is worthwhile. But I might add another thing on this, Stanley. My experience of money is that it's actually what I call a hygiene factor. Of course, everyone wants a little bit more, but I found people earn a certain amount of money and they tend to spend about 10% more than they've got. And they think they'll be happy if they earn 10% more. So they earn 10% more, and guess what? They spend 10% more than that. And the pursuit of happiness, it isn't to do with money. Money is a hygiene factor. What matters to people is whether they're being valued. So if you're a boss and you don't want people renegotiating the salary too often, then make them feel important. Everybody wants to be valued in the job. Everybody comes to work thinking that what I'm doing is important and it's valued and it's worthwhile. Do that, money becomes a hygiene factor.
We in the living room value your calls and questions. Should you have any on persuasion and influence, that's what we're discussing today in the living room on 938 Live. Our guest this day is Philip Hesketh. He's a psychology graduate, but even beyond that, he's associate consultant of the Odds International. He's written a book. It's a bestseller titled Lives Again, So Fix the Odds, all about persuasion and influencing techniques and also the psychology that's employed behind it. But let's